Denise, Kyle, if you guys could keep an eye on the waiting room from here, we will jump into it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Welcome to our 2024 spring season coaches call. I know that many of you are still in the thick of winter season. Thank you all for those that were with us at state winter games this past weekend and those that are joining us for state basketball right around the corner. We're almost through the winter season. It's been a fun one, but we're going to jump right into the spring season right on the heels of this. So, wanted to spend some time with you guys all this afternoon or evening. Share a little bit about what's on the horizon. So, first off, staff introductions, just so you all know who's in the room. You all know most of these folks anyway, but Megan Scremin, our CEO, Shaka Sutton, our chief officer of sports and competitions. We have Susan Fogg, our senior director of sports and competition, and the rest of the sports and competitions team, Corey, Mike, and Kara. Denise, our volunteer coach and development manager, Mandy, who's going to share a little bit more about young athletes, Jenna Tweet from our inclusive health department, share all that's coming up on healthy athletes this season. Christy Obregon, who is our LETR events manager, is going to share a little bit more about Polar Plunge here in a minute. Elizabeth Aslan, who's our athlete leadership manager, and going to highlight a little bit about our athlete leadership university coming up later this year. And then our regional services team. We got Kyle in the Southeast, Katie, our Denver regional manager, our Western regional manager. And new to many of you on this call is Aaron Escamilla, our Northeast regional manager. And then rounding out the group is me, our senior director of regional services, and I lead our team of regional managers. So we're going to go through the agenda here, just so you know kind of what we're talking about today. We're going to talk hit a little bit about like overview things that impact all of you guys across all sports, off the field, polar plunges, athlete leadership, coaches summit. Then we're going to jump into the fun stuff that everybody loves, all of our athlete application and Class A information. And then we're going to hit on our young athletes, healthy athletes, and then we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of all of our sport calendar. And then touch on some administrative stuff at the very end, and then open it up to Q&A. That said, we will stick around at the end for questions and anything that you guys want to cover that we don't cover on the call. But if you have questions along the way, please feel free to go off mute or drop your question in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer as we go along. So with that, we'll jump into it, and I'm going to hand it off to Christy, who's going to talk about our polar plunge.
Great. Thanks, Adrian. Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Obregon, the LETR events manager. So I run all of our polar plunges and flame poles and some of our other law enforcement torch run events throughout the year. And right now we are in the thick of our polar plunge season. We just had Trinidad and Denver took place just this last weekend. This upcoming weekend, we have Boulder and Pueblo. And it's already starting off fun. We've had so many local programs join us. I was just looking at all the names on this call and have seen a lot of you who have joined us for some of our plunges or are signed up for some of the upcoming ones. And I just want to share a little bit more about being a local program and doing the polar plunge this year. So if you get your local program together and you do a polar plunge, we have a really great opportunity where we do a revenue share. So, and I sent Adrian the follow-up information, so he'll be able to share that with all of you. But the revenue share, what it does is it gives everyone on that team the opportunity to raise funds, not only for Special Olympics Colorado and all of the different programming we do, but for your team as well. And some of that money can go toward buying jerseys, buying equipment, renting the space out, and things like that support your team as well. So it's a really great opportunity to raise funds and support in a couple different ways. So something really exciting there. And we still have an opportunity for the Boulder and Pueblo plunges. So if you are in those areas, please reach out to me. I'm happy to get you set up here, even though it's this coming weekend. we're quick turnaround, so we can always make that happen. And then we have Aurora, Windsor, Colorado Springs, and then Avon doesn't take place until October. A few fun little things that are in some of these plunges as well. Aurora, Windsor, and Colorado Springs all have a 5K this year. So if you're in one of those areas, you'd be able to do a 5K with one of those. And a fun addition we're adding is really encouraging people to bring their polar pups. So if you have a dog who likes to run and you want to do a 5K with your pup, this is another fun option at the polar plunges this year. So you can bring your dog. They'll get a nice cool bandana. You can also win prizes if you're the highest fundraising runner with your dog. So it's a fun kind of new incentive that we haven't had in the past. And then a little bit more about some of these plunges. Boulder and Pueblo both take place in a reservoir, as well as Aurora. Windsor is a lake. And then Colorado Springs is actually in a pool, and it's a pool that we bring to the site, fill with water, and people are able to jump in there. So that one's kind of a little bit different, but really fun. And yeah, so we love having local programs join us. I think it's a really fun way to connect those kind of corporate businesses that join our polar plunges as well to those who are part of the local program, and getting to see that everyone is involved from all different areas within SoCo as well as the community, and it kind of brings everyone together. We also have, with some of our bigger plunges, an after splash bash where you can hang out afterwards, get a beer, have some food. And then we have our different things as well. So this is, thank you, Adrian, for pulling this up. This is our polar plunge site. We've added a couple new things. We have a fundraising toolkit to support everyone in learning how to fundraise, as well as a social media toolkit. So you can click on that, download some of the images, and post them right onto your social media to either help spread the word or get people to join your team. Our goal, if you saw it there, our goal is big, 726,000 across all of these plunges. So the more support we can get from all the different areas we work with and all of the community, it's huge. It's the way we make these polar plunges hit that goal. So if you have any questions, please let me know or let Adrian know, because we would love to have you join us. We have a lot of local programs this year that have come back. I actually just looked, and almost every local program from Denver came back. Almost everyone from Pueblo came back. And same thing with Aurora. We're getting close to finishing those out. So really grateful for those of you who have come back for another year with us. And for those who haven't experienced a polar plunge, I would love to share more about it and get you engaged. This is a fun addition. We have all of our polar plunge incentives. For teams that raise, they can earn up to $5,000, which is kind of a cool, or sorry, for teams that raise over $5,000, they can get a freezy pass and skip the lines and go to the front of that line and get to be one of the ones that plunge first. So something fun there. But yeah, so unless any questions popped up in the chat, those are the few little things about the polar plunge, and we'd love to have you join us. So if you do have questions, either send them my way or send them to Adrian or your regional manager, and they can then get those questions to me. Thank you all for letting me share a little bit about the polar plunge.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who have fundraising or do fundraising as part of your local programs, Polar Plunge is the best way to do fundraising. Tackle it at the beginning of the year and do all of it in one fell swoop, and then you're done and don't have to worry about it again. So many of our teams have found this to be a really successful offering for them, and I encourage you to sign up or ask questions if you'd like to learn more. So we'll move on. Elizabeth or Aiden. I believe Aiden's going to lead this area. Aiden, are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right, Aiden, floor is yours. You want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. For those who do not know me, my name is Aiden McNeese, and I am the athlete leadership specialist. For SoCo. I am also An athlete. I compete in swimming this spring, so I'm a little excited about that. Well, I guess we can dive right into this. So we have some updates to share about athlete leadership programs this year. Our website page is currently under construction, but all of the information will be on the website in a couple of weeks. First, we will not be hosting an Athlete Leadership University or ALU in the springs. Oh my goodness, wow, spring. We will be back in the fall for an in-person ALU event in Denver, in the Denver area. We are excited to host a virtual leadership workshop in March, April, and May for athletes ages 16 and up. This is a separate from ALU, and athletes are not required to take intro to athlete leadership or choose a major. The first workshop will be on Wednesday, March 27th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. The workshop will be about oh my goodness, my words. Communication, conversations, and having appropriate conversations. The registration link will go out in an e-blast next week. Another way for athletes to get involved in our leadership program is with the Athlete Leadership Council. The Athlete Leadership Council, or ALC, is a form of athletes to report what is happening in their regions, voice their opinions about important issues, and gain leadership training and experience. ALC meetings happen once a quarter over Zoom. Athletes must apply to be part of the ALC. Applications open on April 1st. Again, April 1st. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Elizabeth, Athlete Leadership Senior Manager. Her email is on the slide.
You did great, Aiden. That's good. Good
Thank
summary.
you.
Great. Nicely done, Aiden. Thank you for sharing all of that on our what's coming up on athlete leadership. Any questions for Aiden while he's still here on the call? Nice job, Aiden.
Thank you.
We'll carry on. Thanks, everybody. All right, and now we'll hand it off to Denise with big updates on our annual coaches summit.
Perfect. Good job, Aiden. First time I did one of these, I couldn't even turn my audio on, so far above myself. However, hi coaches. We have our annual coaches summit scheduled again. I just wanted to put it on your radar. It's scheduled for Saturday, April 27th. This year it'll be at Wheat Ridge Recreational Center. It's off of Kipling and close to I-70, just a little bit south of that. 8:30 to 4:30. This is where we'll be offering sports specific training. Currently our sports will be swimming, volleyball, and basketball. The cool part about this year is we're kind of tailoring it to that young athletes programming, that transition from that youth competitive, and then our adult programming as well for all the sports. And we will be having teams come out and demonstrate what it's like to host a practice versus just that one coach. And then along with that, we have things like our de-escalation training and our athlete leadership as well. So we encourage you to come out. I'll follow up with Adrian at the end of this call and make sure that you guys all have the flyer. You just register for an intent to attend. So we can capture your information, and then as the schedule starts to develop and we get closer to that event, we'll send out more information.
And this is available to all coaches, so not just you that are on the call. We encourage your assistant coaches, any sports-specific head coaches, anybody who has a coaching responsibility with your program to attend this summit as well. Any Coaches Summit questions? Can't imagine that we don't have any, but if we don't, we will continue. If you need more details, you can reach out to any one of the regional managers or Denise. Wait, Jason, I saw you pop off.
Yeah, sorry. Should we assume that our other coaches, because they've gone through and registered with you, are receiving these same kind of emails? I know I bring them up, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be forwarding all the communication I receive as quote unquote the head coach.
That's something, yeah, if you wouldn't mind forwarding it, we try and capture everyone, and to answer some questions in the chat, it will be on like our regional newsletters and everything like that and blasted on social media, but we just want to make sure we come full circle. So if you could forward it, that would be great. To answer questions, we'll send out the actual flyer that you can click on. You can't click on it during PowerPoint presentation to register. So we'll make sure you get that from the end of this call and just help forward it out to all assistant coaches or anyone on your team, on your rosters. We'd like to get as many people there as we can to kind of help forward that movement and training.
So, yep, and then I see some of these similar questions in the chat. Yes, we will send out the flyer to all coaches. If we have their email, they will receive this, but as a good rule of thumb, please forward it on to anybody on your team just to make sure that we didn't miss anybody. But occasionally there are coaches who are just connected with you guys and we aren't aware of them. So it's important for you guys just to pass it along if you are able to do so as well. We will also share all the slides so that you guys have access to the recording of this call, and then also the links that are embedded in each of these. And then Sandra, we will cover Topgolf here in a little bit. It's on the deck. All right, and we'll press on. So now we'll jump into some of the athlete application Class A notification process, just so you guys are all aware of how we communicate to all of your athletes, coaches, your unified partners about all of our paperwork needs. As you know, that paperwork is an important part of a person's participation with Special Olympics. We do require that athlete application and sports physical exam form for an athlete in order for them to participate, which clears them for 3 years of participation across all our sports. And same thing for those unified partners and coaches, for them to complete their Class A application. And for anybody over the age of 18, their background check, so that they are formally approved to participate with Special Olympics. The benefit of having your paperwork completed is that in the event of an injury, God forbid, an athlete or unified partner or coach would be covered by our insurance if they have their paperwork on file with us and it's active. So an important reminder to share with your participants that it's not just we are looking to add a burden of paperwork to everybody's plate, but there's a benefit to it that if they do complete their athlete application or Class A, they're approved and they are covered under our insurance. So just wanted to share that with you. But what we are doing in order to kind of take that responsibility off of the coach's shoulders is we've enacted a few different touch points with all of our participants where we communicate their paperwork updates going into the season and throughout the calendar year. So you'll see listed here that we will notify athletes and coaches and unified partners on a monthly basis when their expiration is coming up within the next 60 days. So giving them that heads up with 60-day notice so that they can start beginning their application renewal process prior to their expiration date. We are also sending a 1-year notice. So we know that many of our athletes, they're only able to complete a doctor's visit once a year as part of the Medicaid waiver. So by nature of that, we want to give them as much notice as possible going into their, I guess, their renewal period so that they can complete those athlete applications prior to their expiration at their next upcoming doctor's visit. So those are two things that are already taking place. We've been doing that over the course of the last 9 months, and we've seen people already jumping on their renewal process, and the paperwork reports going into competitions have decreased dramatically. So that's been a great benefit. But wanted to let you guys know that this is something that we at Special Olympics Colorado are doing to help support you as coaches and notifying your athletes about their athlete applications. Beyond that, if anybody completes their season registration with us, they will receive a confirmation email that will alert them to their application status going into that season. And we will also, during the team introduction period, which will take place over the next few weeks for upcoming spring season, we will also alert them there as well. So there are 4 different times and 4 different touch points where we are notifying anybody who's in our database or who's registered with us of their upcoming athlete application and Class A expiration dates. So wanted to give you guys that brief update on what our notification process looks like. With that in mind, we are enacting a hard scratch deadline this spring season. We've been doing that for all of our last 3 seasons, and it's been really beneficial and really helpful for us to be able to form a well-rounded competition and know everybody who plans on attending that competition with plenty of lead time so that we can communicate with you guys as coaches more proactively on schedules and divisions and all of the key information that you're looking for to be able to share out to your families and athletes with ample time going into a competition period. So with that in mind, all of our athletes, unified partners, and coaches should have a completed athlete application or Class A prior to the first practice. The final deadline for them to submit their athlete application or Class A will be the day entry forms are due for that respective competition. So we'll cover those entry form deadlines here in a minute, but it's important to share that information with your athletes probably before the first practice, at a minimum at your first practices, so that everybody knows that expectation going into the season. Hey, get your paperwork done. We've notified you. Special Olympics has notified you. Now it's time that you take that responsibility, complete this stuff. Otherwise, you will not be able to participate at regional and state competitions. So if you need any support at all in having those conversations with your families, in supporting them in completing the athlete application or Class A process, please notify your regional manager. We are here to support you. We don't want that burden to fall on you as coaches. We only ask that you at least relay the information to your participants so that they are aware of their status going into the season. And then we will take on the responsibility of supporting them from there forward. So wanted to share those 2 updates with you here. Now I wanted to share a little bit about season registration, but before I do, any questions on those 2 notification processes or scratch deadlines? Perfect. Moving on.
Great.
Oh,
I have
Jason?
one more question. Yeah. If I had 2 athletes that had to be scratched from regionals because they were sick.
Yep.
Does that disqualify them from state?
Great question. We actually have implemented an appeals process now that we will share on this call as well. So there's a short form sent to coaches following regional competitions where they can submit an appeal for their athletes that we will review internally to address those case-by-case scenarios that occasionally will pop up. So good question, Jason. And we will cover more about that as we press on.
Thank you.
season registration. So many of you are familiar with this process and utilizing it fully, which we are appreciative of. Our spring season registration is formally closed. It closed on Sunday, March 3rd. That said, if you have any participants who missed the window and would still like to register, there's two ways that they can do so. They can register with us by reaching out to a regional manager. We have a link available to the back end site of season registration. We can still collect their information and get them placed on your roster, or you as a coach can manually enter them onto your shared rosters if you know all of their information and details. So you will have full access to your rosters here in the next few days if you haven't received those links already. And feel free to start adding people on there that you know are returning to your team that may not have registered. We'll formally register with them with us, and then we will be prompted then to share all of the relevant details like their athlete application or Class A information, so you're aware going into the start of the season. Team announcement emails will take place between March 14th or 15th. If we could get to them beforehand, we will do so, but you can expect to receive all those team announcement emails and introductions of all of your team participants to you as a coach by March 15th, so that you can start communicating with everybody going into the season. We will provide you with links to your shared rosters in advance of that, so you have that access to your rosters and be able to make your changes and review who all is registered with you. The one thing we do request is that when we do make those introduction emails, we ask that you follow up and introduce yourself to everybody. You may know 90% of the people that are returning to your team, but there may be a handful of new folks who would be excited to hear from you directly. So we ask that you do introduce yourself. And then lastly, if you have any needs going into the season, if you still need help with finding coaches, or you haven't been able to book your facility yet and need help finding a facility, let your regional manager know. This is our time to be able to support you and prepare you for the season. So wherever you need help, please let us know. We can't help you if we don't know where you're running into some challenges. Now, on the shared rosters, just wanted to let you know that a couple of upcoming deadlines. So as I mentioned, we are being very proactive about sharing those athlete application and Class A expiration dates directly to all of our participants. However, if they haven't registered with us for the season, they will not receive that communication from us because we don't know their information. We haven't received any of that from them. So if you add anybody to your rosters, we will update their expiration dates on their rosters directly, but the final time we will do that will be Monday, April 8th. So that's the last time all of our regional managers will be in your rosters and updating those athlete application and Class A expiration dates. We won't update it after that fact. The next time you will receive any communication about athlete applications or Class A's are when after the entry form period, when we send the scratch report of who's no longer able to attend competitions. So it's important that you update your rosters in advance of this April 8th date so that we can update those and then you can relay that information to your participants. Let's see, we are also going to be using our shared rosters as competition entry forms. So to make your lives a little bit easier, all of the information for our athletes will already have been included in there: names, dates of birth, their gender, the stuff that typically you're used to collecting in advance of the entry form period. All of that will already be listed for you. So then all you have to go in is add the competition details, the qualifying scores, what events are going to be in, what division they are, that type of thing. So trying to make that a little bit easier for you guys as we go through the entry form period. So you can expect to see that change taking place for all sports this season. The last thing I'll share here is that once you've completed your entry form portion of the shared rosters, the competition specific information that we're looking for that needs to be submitted by that entry deadline period, we will lock those rosters. So those rosters are no longer editable by anybody, us or coaches. So they will be set in stone. if you have any changes that you need to request after that point, any people that need to be removed or additions that you need to make to your roster, we request that you notify us, your regional manager, by email, so we can then track those changes and make those changes on the back end. You will not be able to do that on your roster. Just wanted to make that plain so that everybody understands that once entry forms are submitted, rosters are locked, and we are no longer using those as a tool for that upcoming season. And I'll share our spring season timeline, and I see that there's some questions in the chat. I'll tackle those right after this slide. So spring season timeline, March 3rd, we close season registration, March 5th, today, our coaches call. April 14th, 15th is when we're making those spring season team announcements. The week of March 25th is when we prefer that you all start your first week of practices. If you're able to start earlier, terrific. If you're starting later than the week of March 25th, if you could just let your regional manager know, just so we're aware of when you're actually beginning your first week of practices. And then the week of April 8th is when we are making those final paperwork additions to your roster. All right, I had one more slide. Roster links will be sent out to coaches by the end of this week so that you can expect to see all of your rosters, at least have the information available. Our team of regional managers are taking this week to update those rosters with everybody who's registered with us. So we are working actively on the back-end administration of setting up all of our teams for the season, but you can expect to have the preview of your shared roster in hand by March 8th. And then if you have practice updates, please let us know by March 15th so that we can incorporate that into our team announcements. And then be sure to add any athletes, unified partners, and coaches who are not reflected on your rosters. And with that, I will pause and answer any questions in the chat. Does Denise, you mind rattling off any of those? If there are any?
It looks like they were answered through the chat, so we should.
Even better. Anything that I can help answer here before we move on into our next topic? That was crystal clear. All right, we will move on. Young athletes overview. So just an update on our young athletes programs. Many of you are familiar with this, but wanted to share as we're trying to more closely align our young athletes programs and practices with those of local programs. So our goal is to make the athlete experience a holistic one and a seamless transition for any athletes as they move on from program to program. So our young athletes program is serves our athletes from ages 4 to 7 and basically sets them up for their life as an athlete. It prepares them in gross motor skill development, sports concepts, socialization, working with their peers in a team setting, the basic fundamentals of sports in a non-competitive environment, that they are ready to move on once they're 8 years old and start, competing with us in a more formal setting. So what we would like to do is, if you are interested in aligning your practices with young athletes and having a young athletes coach lead a group of young athletes around the same times and locations that you are currently holding your practices, we would love to hear from you so that we know that we can start making that more focused alignment, so that when these athletes turn 8 years old, they know that they can just transition into your program and start with you formally on a competitive level. So this is the framework of our young athletes program. Mandy DeWitt and Ashton Anderson are the two that lead our efforts on the young athlete side and will be the point of contact on facilitating all elements of our young athletes program. But we wanted to give you an overview of that this program exists and how it works and how it may impact you if you have the interest of offering that as part of your program. With that, Jenna, are you on the call?
I am.
All right, terrific. I'm going to hand it off to Jenna for everything Healthy Athletes coming up this spring.
Awesome. Thanks, Adrian. So looking at our spring season, leading up to state summer games, we'll have 2 healthy athlete screenings. So we will be at regional powerlifting this year, which is very exciting. Since I've been in this role, we have not been at regional powerlifting. So we are going to bring Fit Feet to you guys. We will have an awesome giveaway of some powerlifting socks for the athletes to get after they go through the screening. So that is awesome. And then we will also be at the Southeast Spring Games with special smiles. And we will also have some additional giveaways there beyond just the typical little goodie bag of a toothbrush, toothpaste, and floss. So make sure you guys encourage your athletes to come to those screenings. Especially because we have a lot of student volunteers who drive to these locations to help us out, and they're really eager to do the screenings and get experience working with our athletes and our population. So we have those 2 coming up, so keep an eye out for those. And then state summer games, we are going to do our biggest healthy athletes event that we've ever done. We will be offering 9 screenings there this year. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. So we are also going to be trying something new out as well. From 10 to noon, we are going to be offering appointments for MedFest, Healthy Hearing, Opening Eyes, and then we are also partnering with Jet Dental to be there to offer teeth cleanings. And they accept all insurances. That includes Medicaid and Medicare. So keep an eye out for the informational email coming out to sign up your team for appointments, your athletes for appointments, once you know the schedule and when they'll be competing. And then the full event will open at 1 o'clock and go until 6. Appointments will still be needed for MedFest, and then Healthy Young Athletes will open up at 1 o'clock as well. And then Jet Dental. Quick little tidbit on what Healthy Young Athletes is. It's a new pediatric screening for ages 2 to 7. So if you have a young athletes team or know young athletes that will be out there at Grand Junction, we highly encourage them to come and participate in the screening. We have fun little giveaways, a little doctor kit and a little stuffed animal to kind of be their patient. And it's a developmental based screening. So just kind of looking at the little guys developmentally, seeing where they are, seeing if maybe they need some connections for maybe some therapies to help them out, or getting in to see specialists. So that is what that screening is all about. It will be appointment based, so the little guys don't have to stand in line. I have a 4-year-old. I know they don't stand in line. So keep an eye out for information for those appointments for MedFest. Adrian was just talking about that, so you can get those physicals done and applications in. Athletes who attend 4 of the screenings will earn a prize, just like in the past. Still figuring out what that is, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. And anyone who's not participating can still come. So if you're out in Grand Junction, but you're not doing summer sport or spring sports, you can still come. Performance stations. We will have those at Denver and Northeast Regional Swimming, Denver and Northeast Athletics, and then Front Range Soccer. So make sure to tell your athletes about those to come by. They're quick little 5-minute stations, if that, education based, and you always get a little goodie from them, which is awesome. And then we're going to have Health for All kits at State Gymnastics. So I think between all of that, I didn't miss a competition. So we're going to be at everything in some way, shape, or form. We have a nice partner who is donating these Health for All kits for State Gymnastics. Kind of a nice summer theme to them. since state gymnastics is right around when the weather is hopefully starting to get really nice. So all those athletes competing in gymnastics are going to get a nice little health kit. And then don't forget, please keep nominating fitness captains. If you have leaders on your team, scan that QR code, nominate them to be a fitness captain. We currently don't have any training scheduled, just waiting for more people to be interested in being leaders within the fitness captain role. And once we have enough interest, we'll schedule more trainings. I think that's me. Yep.
All right. Susan, handing it off to you.
I have a question real quick, Adrian. She
Sure.
said something about April 28th being Northeast region, swimming regionals. Isn't that May 5th?
That is correct. We will share that right now. Susan?
Sweet. I will go ahead and jump in and start talking about the calendar. We will start, and you guys can see the entry dates on there. I'm not going to read through everything on here, but please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. We will be kicking off the season, Saturday, April 6th. Thank you for pointing that out, Yariv. So we'll kick that off Saturday, April 6th at the regional powerlifting event, Greeley West High School. Those entries are due kind of in the next couple of weeks here. So once we get into the sport specific stuff, I'll talk about kind of what that looks like as well. Saturday, April 27th, we will be at the Montrose Recreation Center for a new location for Western Swimming. I think Western Swimming kind of outgrew the facility we were at, and so we've got some a great facility over at the Montrose Recreation Center as well. So we are moving along to that, and just going to cap off some more swimming that weekend with the Denver swimming at the Arapahoe High School. As mentioned, we will be hosting the Northeast Swimming, and ideally any teams of Denver that have lead up athletes will attend this event. So this is the event we will be offering lead ups at. If you're a swimming coach and that's an issue for you coming up from Denver, let me know and we can kind of talk through what that looks like. But that location really is best for the lead up competition. So I guess that means that Denver, if you have a lead up team, you could also bring the rest of your team to that. So you're not going both weekends in a row, but we can leave that up to you guys as well. The Southeast Spring Games, which will be athletics and swimming together, is still to be determined. We've got just a few new contacts we're working through, so we hope to have that squared away over the next few weeks. We will be out Sunday, May 5th at Stoker Stadium for the Western Slope athletics competition as well. And then you guys can see on here if there's going to be young athletes there, that is noted on the calendar as well. Okay. Next up, we will be at Denver and Northeast Athletics. We'll be at the Littleton Public School Stadium. It's a brand new facility, so actually going to check it out this Friday. And that is going to be a neat, I think, a nice upgrade from where we were. I think where we were last year was good, but I think this will be a little bit easier for everyone to get to all the pieces of it. But we will update you guys as all that gets closer, of course. And then we will round out the regional season May 18th and 19th with some regional soccer competitions, one over on the Western Slope and one on the Front Range. Finally, we've got state gymnastics June 1st, and then our state summer games to wrap the season up June 7th through the 9th in Colorado Mesa University as well. And again, all of these will have young athletes there, as you see it noted on the calendar.
One thing to note, I know we had mentioned the April 8th date where we would be updating paperwork on shared rosters for the final time. For those competitions with an April 1st entry form deadline, we will be doing that by April 1st.
And just before we jump into kind of the rest of the pieces that on the entry forms, we'll be going through those here. But if you don't have like your final absolute perfect time, that's okay. The ideal is we know who's coming, what event and what events they're in, an idea of their time. We know that those times are probably going to change in the 4 weeks that we get entry forms to the competition. And we'll ask you guys for those updates to make sure that we are divisioning as best as we can as well. So again, this spring, it's either snowing or it's beautiful, right? So if it snows, your first 4 track practices out. it's not gonna really deter a ton of things, obviously, but if we have an idea of events and times, that's what we really need to kind of start building that schedule and those pieces as well. The Russell asked a question on Northeast Regional Soccer. We actually at this time only have the Front Range Regional Soccer, which will be May 19th, I believe, on there as well.
And that's
As we-
for Southeast, Northeast, and Denver teams.
Correct, yes. As we build teams in kind of all the regions, we can start to build more regional competitions in those areas. But I think the last time, which was a while ago, that we had regional competitions in those events, it ended up being really not the best matchups because there weren't as many teams of the levels that needed to be. So next up is our competitions page. You guys can visit our competition page to find all the SOCO rules, interps, SOI rules, and kind of all those pieces as well. Right now we still have the winter season up there as we're still wrapping that up, so you need to scroll through that, but everything else underneath there is available to you. You just need to click and expand on the sports resources to find what you're looking for as well. Each event on the webpage is also linked to the calendar of events. And I would encourage you guys to start sharing those calendar of events out. We will be continually updating that information with schedules, just general information. We won't post final rosters or anything like that on there, but we'll definitely be updating divisions, schedules, kind of what all those pieces look like. So when you have folks asking, you're more than welcome to share that web page out with folks as well. Any questions on any of that? Great. Just a few reminders for the season. Athletes must participate in regionals in order to attend state competition, state summer games. In the case that was brought up earlier, we do have an appeal process that we send out typically with results. If you have an athlete that was sick, or if there's some reason that you think they should kind of move forward to summer games without being at regionals, you can fill that link out and then we will review that and let you guys know if those folks will be able to compete or not as well. Within the spring season, as noted, we do offer quite a few sports. So athletes are able to compete at regionals in those different sports, but once they get to state, they will just be competing in one event at that point. And then just as a reminder, if an athlete's coaching in a sport, they cannot also coach that sport. If you have a situation where you can make that work or how that works, let us know. Might be a little bit different in individual sports, so feel free to reach out if there is something in that piece as well. Okay.
To that end, same thing with coaches. If there always needs to be a coach on the bench during competition. So if you plan on having one of your coaches serve as unified partners, they will not be able to do one or the other role. They have to choose one. Athletics.
All right, just jumping right into athletics. I will cover that first one a little bit as we get into the entries. Athletes requiring assisted devices will choose track events at that time of registration. So we offer, I think, the 25 all the way up to the 400 with assisted devices. And assisted devices could be a cane, a walker, a crutch. We also offer wheelchair events. So athletes who use wheelchairs can be listed in those events as well. But that's just all on the entry form that we'll pull up here. And I think maybe Adrian, just for athletics, you can pull up the athletics one and we can kind of walk through that. And then the individual sports will mirror that one as well. Oh, no, I wasn't ready yet.
No, I'm working on, I'm getting there. There we go. Got it.
Oh, well, I'm going to do that at the entry part. So
At the end. All right.
Yep. Sorry. And then just reminding that appropriate athletic clothing and footwear is mandatory. We don't allow jeans, hats, sunglasses, unless you have a medical note on them. I know some folks have that. But we really are gearing the athletes by the time they're at the regional competition to be ready to really compete at that high level using the athletic gear needed in that. Athletes can be allowed to enter 3 events. So that could be any combination of the individual events as well as a relay. That would be 3 total. They can't do 3 individual events and then the relay. It's 3 total. So whether that's 2 individual events in a relay, 3 individual events, kind of whatever that might look like. There are just a handful of restrictions on that. If they're choosing a jumping event, they have to choose either the standing or the running. If they're in a throwing event, they will either choose tennis ball, softball, or shot put. Kind of with the thought of those that the standing long jump progresses up to the running. Same with the tennis ball throw, softball throw, shot put. Those are kind of progressions of things as well. And then athletes, we do offer race walk events. So athletes will either be in running events or race walking events. If they're in the 50-meter walk, they would then be in the 50 or the 4x100 meter relay. So that does cross over to relays as well. If they're in the 50-meter run, they should stay in the run relays also. We do offer unified relays. And then there's just a note down there on the start commands. It's runners, to your mark, get set. And then we actually have electronic, I think they're electronic the electronic tone that we have. But I do encourage you guys to get your athletes used to that. It's not a super loud beep, but it is a beep that's on there. So I would encourage you guys to practice something along those lines with the athletes. If you're not sure what that sounds like, reach out to us. We can share some information on that, or, maybe you can borrow a set of it for a practice so that the athletes are ready for that once they do come to regionals as well. Coaching and verbal directions and encouragement can be done from a stationary position. We do not necessarily allow coaches on the track unless there's an athlete who needs additional assistance. Then we will be offering out track access passes. If an athlete needs additional assistance, it should be in the sense of you're assisting them in staging, you're assisting them from a fixed position. If you're running alongside next to the athlete, that could result in disqualification for the athlete as well. If you're running behind them and filming them and cheering them on, as much as we would love to see that, that is also not allowed in our coaching rules at that point as well. When submitting scores on the entry forms, which we'll get to on the next slide, all measurements should be done in metric. And then just the more accurate your entry information is, the more accurate the divisions will be at regionals. So feel free to do it a few times. You don't necessarily have to say today's divisioning or today's the day that we're taking scores. This is it. This is the only time we're doing it. Feel free, if you've got extra folks available to help out with that, do that a little bit more often, and then look for an average of things. That'll get us a little bit more of a consistent score, so that competition at regionals will be much more accurate at that point. Okay. And I think the next slide is the entry form.
Yeah. Do you see this?
Yeah. Yep. So as Adrian mentioned, we are kind of combining the seasonal roster as well as the entry form. So a few important pieces at the top is selecting which regional event is on there. That will be a drop-down menu on there. That way we know which event obviously to put you in. And then the next piece is, will you attend state? That's a yes or no question. If you're not sure, just throw a yes on there so that we can start to get you the information. If you 100% know you're not going, then go ahead and select no. But we don't want to miss anyone. So if you're like, yeah, I think maybe we'll go, but maybe people will be on vacation, we're not sure, just go ahead and select yes, and then we can always pull you out of everything after that as well. And then Adrian just has some notes on there just about what events are kind of allowed and what combine in those kinds of things. And then as he scrolls down, so again, athletes are allowed 3 events, so those are all noted here. And once he clicks on the drop-down menu, it will go through and list all of the events that we offer. So that's all of our run events, all of our walk events, all of our field events, our relays, pentathlon is on here. Our assisted events and our wheelchair events are all listed on here as well. So go ahead and pick whichever you prefer. Again, we would like the scores to be in meters if that is doable. If not, please note that you're doing that in feet, so that we can make sure we make the conversion on that as well. If it's time, make sure it's in the format of hours, minutes, seconds. I would assume most of them will be minutes and seconds, but we do have some longer races on there that do offer the hours as well. Okay. And then you'll just go through and do that for all 3 events. If an athlete is in a relay, I know some of you have more than one relay, so we can go ahead. There's a section there for you to note the team name of the relay on there. And feel free to get creative on your team names. It doesn't necessarily have to be, DPR 1, 2, 3, or 4. A lot of the folks like to name their relay teams. I don't know. I'm weird, and when I get the entry forms, it's fun when it's not just 1, 2, 3. So feel free to name those whatever you would like to, but make sure you'll have 4 people on each relay. We do allow alternates on a relay. And then if you could just note that in that relay column as well, if it's an alternate. Okay. And then we're asking if the athlete uses a wheelchair, and then if they are going to participate in the pentathlon. And again, if they are in the pentathlon, they may also be in a relay as well. Any questions on that? Most of the individual sports entry forms will kind of follow along similarly to that. We'll have all the events listed, and you guys will be noting the time in there as well. Okay. Any
Good
other
here.
questions? Great. Thank you. Any questions on athletics in general? All right. Next up is gymnastics. Again, we'll be hosting our state gymnastics competition on June 1st. And then here are just a few notes on the attire and the general rules. Tammy, as far as how many are on a track team, you can have as many as you'd like. We just there's only 4 allowed on the relay. So obviously as many as you like and have the proper supervision for as well at that point. Okay. Okay, sorry, jumping back to gymnastics, just some general pieces on attire, not wearing jewelry, and then just some general rules. Coaches can't protest a judge's score. And then athletes who are competing in the all-around will be divisioned in each individual event, and then as well as in the combined event. And then there's just a few more notes on that as well. We will be at a new location this year. We'll be at Incline Gymnastics, and that was listed on the schedule up there as well. And we will follow up more specifically as we get closer with information on that as well. And then I think the next slide up there for gymnastics just has to do with events and different levels on here as well. Any questions on gymnastics? And then the entry form over here will have all the options that you can select to drop down as well. Okay.
One thing to note on entry forms as we're going through it, we haven't made the updates to the competition portion on all of your shared rosters yet. That will come in the next couple of days. So if you already have your roster, you won't see these updates on here. But we will have them updated here in the next few days.
All right, on to powerlifting. Powerlifting is available for athletes ages 14 and up, and competition will take place in squat, bench, and deadlift. Just as a reminder, you don't have to do all 3. You can do all 3. You can do a bench and deadlift combo, or you can just do a deadlift as well. Okay. Any adaptive equipment that will need to be used must be approved prior to the day of competition. So reach out to myself on that one. And then the day of competition, we will begin with weigh-in and gear check. So please make sure you have all of that, all of those items listed down there available for the gear check at that point. Okay. And then our entry forms are really just noting that you're attending the regional event, attending the state event. And then we're asking for the squat, bench, and deadlift max lift. Again, this isn't something that needs to be super precise. This is just information we're gathering to start working on some of the divisions. We know that that's going to change a lot once they've been training. So this doesn't need to be perfected. We really just want to know which 1, 2, or 3 of the events that they'll be in as well. Okay. There was a question that popped up. Incline Gymnastics is located in Littleton. Perfect. Thanks, Kara. She's shared the information in there. So that's located in Littleton, just off of Santa Fe and C470. All right. Any powerlifting questions? Sweet. On to soccer. Again, we will be offering our 7v7 competition. We will offer a competition in traditional, which is all athletes, as well as unified competition, and our All-Star Skills Challenge. Upon the entry forms, which we'll get into next, You will need to rate your team as well as each player on that level 1 to 4, 1 being the top and 4 being the lowest. There is information on our website on rating those players as well. Okay. Rosters will have a maximum of 15 players with 2 alternates, but the day of competition, 15 players will be on the roster itself. Our age brackets are noted here. As we get more and more youth teams coming up, which we've been able to kind of start doing a little bit in basketball, as we're able to have more 8 to 11 teams and 12 to 15 teams, we will continue to split those divisions as that works accordingly as well. We'll play 2 20-minute halves with 3 minutes in between, and we will use a running clock if needed. We can also end up with a water break in the middle of the day there. Okay. Just some information on timeouts down there. You can go to the next slide. And then just a reminder, to participate in state, you must participate in regionals, and some information on unified teams will have 4 athletes and 3 partners on the court, on the field. Sorry, still in basketball thoughts. So again, there's that, and just to touch on the unified play, there are no specific rules stating that a partner can't play certain positions or a partner can't score any of those pieces. Once we jump into principles of meaningful involvement, we just encourage you guys to make sure you're finding those meaningful roles for every player on the team as well. And then just some information on the equipment down there. Probably one of the biggest things to note is that shin guards and calf high socks are required. Okay, so socks and shin guards. If the shin guard is the sock, which is the thing too, that's fine. But there does need to be a shin guard and a sock type thing covering that shin guard as well. And then goalkeepers can wear goalie gloves as well. Okay. We will offer the skills challenge to test athlete skills in ball control, dribbling, passing, shooting, goalkeeping, fitness, and juggling as well. Any questions on soccer before we jump to the entry form? So in this one, again, that top part, if you'll be attending state, if you're missing any players from last year, rating your team, and then noting your team strength compared to last year on there helps as well for us. So kind of the part you can't see of the entry form is all the information you guys will get, such as the expiration dates, name, birth date, age, kind of all those pieces over there. So then what we'll do is we'll want you guys to add the competition team name, as well as the regional managers can assist if you have more than one team, can assist with making a different tab for each team to kind of separate it out a little bit as well. If athletes are just doing skills, you'll go ahead and note that as well on the sheet and adding in the entry score. Any questions?
Just on this real quick. Sorry.
Yep. Nope, go ahead.
Susan had mentioned it, but we can, we prefer that the regional manager create those individual team rosters. So as we create this shared roster for you, you'll see all of your folks just listed here on this column. So let's say you have 3 teams, you might have 30 total athletes listed on this roster. It's easier for us to create a duplicate tab and then remove people so that we create one team for each one of your respective groups. We can do a training with you if you would like, and we can also spend some time with you in creating those individual team tabs for each one of your the teams that are going to be competing at regionals and states. So if you need clarification or need further support in creating those, please reach out to your regional manager or myself, and we'd be happy to get you set up prior to the entry form period. So once we review entry forms, they're all set and good to go, and we don't have to do any additional back and forth. So PowerPoint. Anything else on entry forms for soccer? Cool.
Not from not from our end. Nope.
Great.
I'll turn it over to Kara for swimming.
Hello. So as we mentioned last year, some of you may have heard, we're going to try to change around the order of events, but we are going to stick with the same order for this year. With our same lead up events, and same traditional events as before. So what you may have seen last year with competition, we will be doing the same this year as well. So as mentioned in the schedule of events as well, the Denver events will be at Arapahoe High School, and then the lead up events will be up north at Mountain View Aquatic Center. So and then Western will be at Montrose Recreation Center. So, just a reminder for those of you that are doing lead up events, that you will need to bring your own flotation devices for those events. They most likely will not be provided for you. There are some locations such as Mountain View, they do have them there, but always as a backup, bring your own just in case. So as we keep reminding everybody, you do need to compete in a regional competition unless an appeal form is filled out in order to participate in state summer games. Just some general rules. We have that 2-minute rule. If a athlete starts a race, they do need to go within 2 minutes for a progression, or they'll be disqualified from that race. Someone just asked about the medley relay. We are going to be doing the medley, which includes the butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. And yes, it is a 100. And then we do a 100 freestyle and a 400 freestyle. It's pretty big. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
We were asking because it said on the screen a 200 medley, and it didn't have the 100 medley on the screen at that point.
For individual. My apologies. Yes, there is a 100. Yes.
Okay, because I had an athlete that was training for the 100 medley, but wouldn't be able to do the 200. So, great, thanks.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. Just general attire. Your goggles do need to be approved with FINA. FINA, that's the swimsuit. For goggles, it does need to be swim goggles. Our swim officials do approve swim mask if athletes do need them. So that is something that is athletes are able to use if needed. Our starts are swimmer takes your mark, and then there is a beep, kind of like athletics. So something to train your athletes with, should they not be used to that, the beep, or there is sometimes a strobe used. So just something to think about in practice. Some of our pools that we use do a start in the deep end. So just something to think about in practice as well. They may be starting in the deep end versus the shallow end. If they're not used to the starting blocks either, they will have that option to use the starting blocks for competition, or start from the side of the pool as well. So just a reminder, if any of your swimmers need a ladder or to be in the close lane, just let us know on the entry form or with your roster. Just a simple email is fine as well. Just letting us know. We'll try to do our best to make that happen, but we will try, but most of the time we're able to make that happen for you. So and this entry form, very similar to athletics. You're just choosing 1, 2, or 3 events. You can do 2 individual events and a relay, or 3 individual events. And then just the qualifying time for each event. If you're not able to do that, we can just wanting to know what events they're doing, and then whether they're coming to the Northeast, the Denver, or the Western. And then if it's a relay, just wanting to know the team name for them, for each team that is competing. Sorry.
All right. Any questions for Kara on swimming? Right.
Yeah, I do. Will we be allowed at least one coach's pass down on the deck for our new athletes that have never gone through this competition and stuff like that, and may need assistance getting in and out of the pool?
We are being very limited with our deck pass. We want, of course, our athletes to be able to compete on their own as much as they can. We do know that there are some new athletes out there. So if a medical reason for a new athlete that may be unsure on what to do needs a coach on the deck, then we'll allow that. But we're trying to limit the deck passes as much as possible.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Kara, we got a question of 100-meter medley and also the 100-meter individual medley.
Yes, I answered that one.
Great. Okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
You're okay, thanks.
Any other swimming questions? Arsan, we are offering Topgolf as a sport this season. Shaka, are you?
Oh,
Here?
I'm here. I'm still here. Yes.
All right.
Top
still
golf,
here.
the most exciting part of this presentation for me. You guys ready for this? All right. Last year, we offered Top Golf as a pilot program. Top Golf has come on again as a partner of Special Olympics North America and has once again offered us the opportunity to do Top Golf. Top Golf itself is not a Special Olympics sport, but it is a offering underneath the golf rules. So you have level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you have golf skills. Now we have Top Golf. And those of you who are golf fans like myself, I know how short the golf season here is in Colorado. This is a great opportunity for those who are participating in it to get some extra practice in a indoor range style setting. The Top Golf season will begin the week of March 18th and go through May 13th. A couple of things to note with that time frame. Top Golf has told us that, they get super busy towards the end of March or spring breaks. So as we are working through setting practices, just be patient with us. There may be a time to push a week back or so, but depending on the Top Golf location that you're at, that'll dictate that. We are at all 3 Top Golf locations. I know that doesn't bode well for those who are on the Western Slope, but you're more than welcome to come over and take part in it. If you're going to be over here for a week or so, or want to drive back and forth, we can make sure that you get some practice time in a Top Golf location. Kyle Kemper will be the point of contact in the Colorado Springs location, and Katie and myself will be the points of contact for the Centennial and Thornton location. Listed on here are their suggested times when you practice. Now, you guys are looking at that. You're saying Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday between 9 and 1. That's a small window of time. All 3 Top Golf locations have told us, they are willing to work with us. It just depends on the size of the team, first and foremost, and how packed they are in their schedule. So there is some flexibility in those practice times between that you see in the 3 locations there. You want to go to the next slide for me? All right. First and foremost, the golf is free to all of our athletes, our unified partners, and coaches and teams who are taking part of that. The golf is free. The food and anything else is extra. So there may be some times, depending on how crowded the location is, you may not have a bay host because if you're just there to play golf, they're not going to attend to your bay if you're not buying food and things like that. As you get more familiar with the location and with the managers and the people working there, because you'll be coming at the same time week after week after week, they'll be gladly to work with you guys to make sure that you're understanding how to work the system and you got everything you guys need for practices, etc. There is a coach's course that you can take. It's 30 minutes. And for those of you who are not familiar with Top Golf, or those of you who are, Top Golf Sport is just their basic target golf game when you go and play Top Golf in a Top Golf location. It's it's as simple as that. So it's trying to get them in all of the different colors and trying to get the most points as you can in a round. Once you guys, if you are registered for that, I know we've got a few of you who have taken the course already. Send those certifications back to us. We keep them on file here, but we also share them with each of the Topgolf locations so they know who, which coaches are certified and who should be in there practicing. All right, next slide. All right, I'm not going to read through all this. If you take the course, it goes into details. Once again, it's your basic Topgolf location. If you've ever seen the Topgolf, you've seen all the color-coded targets that they have. Topgolf Sport, you just get points for hitting into all of those different various targets and trying to get the most points as you can. All right. Next slide. We are offering singles and doubles. Once again, this is open to unified partners and athletes alike. Only thing we do ask is that we will have a culminating event towards the middle of May. At that event, we're going to ask that you either choose a singles event or a unified doubles. Won't have the opportunity to do both at that event. But as you're practicing, obviously, depending on the size of your team, depending on the amount of time that you have, you can practice both of them. You can practice singles, you can practice doubles. We just want to make sure that people are practicing golf and getting more golf training in. This entry form you guys see right here, this is our traditional golf entry form. This will probably differ for Topgolf. As of right now, there are no levels for Topgolf. It's division based off of your total score. So this will change a little bit, but there will be an entry form that you guys will get and be able to fill out for those for that event in May. I know I flew through it and I don't have access to the chat, but you guys will get this slide deck. And if you got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and we'll get you guys going. We'll end with one thing. We ask that those of you who are registered for Topgolf do not contact the Topgolf locations yourself. Myself, Kyle, and Katie will be kind of the conduit between you guys' teams and Topgolf. We want to make sure we're taking that off of your hand, but we also want to make sure that we're maintaining a great relationship with Topgolf. So we'll plan your practices for you guys, and then you guys, all you have to do is show up and go in and enjoy Topgolf. Right.
Thanks, Shaka. Susan?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just touch base on something new we are going to be doing this spring. We will be offering some sport-specific calls. So it's going to be, once your season has started, it's going to be prior to spring competitions, and we're going to host a sport-specific call for each of the sports we offer this season. And within it, we'll talk more about rules, more about details of the events, more about what to expect at the event. Calvin, as you brought up, deck passes, track passes, those kinds of pieces. We'll cover a lot of pieces on that. This way you'll be in your season. If questions come up during training, you can bring those out to us. And then we can just talk through anything else that has come up for the season, and it'll get us ready to be ready for our spring competitions as well. So stay tuned for those to come out. As I touched a little bit on in soccer and in any sport we're offering here, we want to make sure that anyone that is participating has a meaningful role on the team. As a reminder, meaningful role on a team doesn't always mean everyone's scoring, right? There's definitely other meaningful roles, especially as we're looking at soccer in regards to what an athlete could be doing or partner could be doing to make sure they're a meaningful part of that team. So as you're making your lineups, as you're looking through your teams, as you're running through practices, please just really try to make sure that athletes really have that meaningful role on the team. Again, it looks different for everybody. I recently rewatched The Last Dance on Netflix about the Bulls, so I feel like using that as an example of like Michael Jordan was a scorer, Dennis Rodman was a rebounder. They were both meaningful and valuable on those teams in order to win those championships. So don't underestimate those athletes that are out there rebounding and playing defense, or in this sense, it's not basketball, playing defense, kind of going for those loose balls, winning those midfield challenges. Those are meaningful roles on the team. And it's not always about scoring the goals at the end of the day on that. So make sure you're sharing that information with athletes as we continue to build up the team and include good sportsmanship moving forward in soccer. And then just some general sportsmanship reminders. While this is definitely typically more prevalent in our team sports, the spring season ends up being a lot of individual sports, in which case we're still looking for the same thing. We're still looking for athletes who are competing against other athletes to be good sports. Win or lose, athletes are holding their heads high for participating and competing, and just really encouraging the athletes to continue to share that. And yes, we all like to win that blue ribbon, that gold medal, but it's not the biggest thing at the end of the day. Sometimes just getting that time a little bit better than what you had been training for all season is a victory to celebrate. And if you as coaches can continue to just remind athletes of that, I think that's a really helpful piece to help increase and promote good sportsmanship along those lines as well. Turn it over to Kyle. Kyle's covering.
I will jump on in. Thank you, Susan. Don't have a whole lot of time left, so I'm going to kind of go through these quickly. But if there are any questions, we are, of course, happy to answer those, and this will be sent out afterwards for you guys to review as well. But we do have codes of conduct that are set in place for our athletes, partners, volunteers, spectators, and coaches. We do expect all participants of Special Olympics of Colorado to abide by those rules. We do have these available for you guys to send out ahead of time, and we ask that you try and review those with everyone at your first practice or beforehand. You can do this via phone call, email, or in person. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We do have code of conduct violation forms. So if you feel that you've noticed anybody violating these codes of conduct that we do have set in place within Special Olympics Colorado, there is a form available for you guys to fill out. Please go ahead and contact your regional manager if you feel that there have been any violations of some sort. We'd be happy to go over that. You can submit that back over to your regional manager, or you can submit that to Megan Scremen, our CEO. Just for some information on how that works, there is an internal committee that will review this over a 30-day period, and then the decision will be shared and submitted, or it will be shared with the submitting and reported parties. For emergency management and mitigation, we have implemented this a little over a year now, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with it. But if there is any emergency that is to take place at a competition, Lord forbid, we do have a 3-horn sound system. It means stop, look, and listen, like we're back in grade school. But it is for you guys to be notified that there is something going on. We will have medical and law enforcement at most events to help out with any instances that might arise. Emergency communication cards will be distributed in every coach's packet before each event for you guys to have. And if there is any event that were to take place at a practice, please notify your regional manager, and they'll be happy to take you through those next steps. For you guys' information, we do have some internal stuff going on as well, such as CPR, AED, and first aid certifications that staff is obtaining, and that number is growing. We do have active threat training that is offered for all staff, as well as coaches for anyone who wishes to go through that. And we are also partnering with law enforcement to ensure that we are implementing the best crisis management plan for our events. If there is an incident at a practice or competition, for practice, please ask your regional manager for an incident report, and please be sure to include all details of the event as well as contact information. Please be sure to submit that to your regional manager within a 24-hour time period. If there is medical attention that is required, then please reach out immediately to your regional manager. And again, we can help take you through those next steps. If there is an event that takes place at an event, a staff member will be filling out that incident report for you guys, and we'll be working with the appropriate coach to ensure that all details of that event are documented and submitted properly. Again, for you guys' knowledge, incident reports are submitted to the American Specialty Insurance, who will then contact the injured party for a follow-up. And moving forward, severe weather at practices. Again, this can a lot of times is up to the coach's discretion. We do live in Colorado where the weather changes every 10 minutes, but we do try and ask that you give your team a 24-hour notice if possible. Coaches should please try and alert your regional manager if practices are canceled. Here are some examples of reason why that you might cancel practice, and that might be temperatures dropping below freezing or 0 degrees. That could be with the wind chill factored in or not, air quality, or any other severe weather substances that might be arising. Athlete emergency contact form. This is a form that we created for you coaches to have, so you don't have to carry around every athlete's application. On here will be pertinent medical information as well as good parent guardian contact info, emergency contact information. This way you guys can keep this on hand for each one of your athletes. So again, Lord forbid if anything were to happen, you guys will have that on hand and be able to easily able to take the next appropriate steps. And this is what that contact form looks like. As you can see, some of the questions that are asked and info that is acquired. Event arrival and departure timeframes. This is another form that we've created for you coaches to go through with all of your assistant coaches, athletes, unified partners, or those involved with your team. Just kind of create an outline of the do's and don'ts for everyone when arriving to practice as well as departing from. We know your time is very valuable and we wish to respect that. And so this will kind of help outline some of that stuff for you. Here's some important links. Again, this will be sent out to you guys after this call. As you see everything on there, you guys will be able to access those. And they're also on our website as well. And lastly, if you aren't registered with our newsletters, we recommend doing so. It's our best way to stay up to date on everything that we have going on in Special Olympics, especially within your appropriate region, as well as our Facebook pages with some awesome stuff that's going on, again, within SoCo and your region. With that, I will wrap it up and send it back over to Adrian for questions.
Look at that. We finished with 1 minute to spare. And that concludes the spring season coaches call. So we will stick around here for a few minutes and answer any questions that you might have or things that we didn't cover on today's call. But otherwise, thank you all for everything that you do for us and all the hours that you give to us and our unified partners to provide them a meaningful and well-rounded experience at Special Olympics Colorado. What we do at Special Olympics Colorado literally isn't possible without all of you and your support and everything that you give to our community. So on behalf of all of us here at Special Olympics Colorado, our deepest and most sincere gratitude for everything that you guys do. With that, those of you that have no questions, feel free to be on your way, and we will see you at competitions this season, and we will stick around and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you, everybody. We're grateful for your time.
Thank you.